what I want to focus on today is user preferences. Now, what I'm going to show you first of all is a typical user experience. So this might be a member of staff that's just joined you, and what we've done is actually created a user profile for that individual. So their experience of Opera isn't in sort of the fine detail that you would expect it to be. So there's certain things that user is doing and they're just thinking, this is so cumbersome. So what I want to show you is, first of all, that typical user experience. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to log on as user. I've no password there at the moment. So if I just log on, so this is typically what I've seen when I've been out and about meeting with clients. First thing that hits us when a user logs on for the first time is that this desktop appears. So this is a direct link to the Opera website and just keeps people informed. And this also appears if there are any upgrades that apply. And what we actually find is the user has to drop or close this window continually. So what I will be showing you is how we can actually turn that particular function off. Other sort of experiences we've got. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to close that window because that is typically what a user will do. So every time they log in at the start of the morning, that's probably popping up on the desktop, and what they have to do is close it each time. The other sort of things that they experience is if I just go to financials, and if you just go for a processing, and if I just choose current balances from here, so what I want to do is just view all the transactions for this particular customer that we've got. And one thing that we notice is that this is all on a white background. So again, what we can do is we can change that to make it look more appealing and easier to read for the client. So I'm going to show you how we can introduce what we call grey and white grid lines. So at the moment, that's all on the background. It's not easy to try and look at various things and highlight things that you want to view. The other thing also is, because obviously we've got windows that obviously you can see we can move around, and some users obviously want to make the screen a little bit bigger while they're working. So any screen that we open, we can adjust the form and the size of that. But as soon as I close the window and I reopen it again, it goes back to the factory setting. So again, I'm going to show you how we can actually save those form positions and sizes. If you're in a multi-company environment, so if I just go to date and company, and if I go for a drop down, you can see there I've actually got 4 companies. So every time I log in, I'm automatically just coming to Orion Vehicle Leasing. But actually, I want to be working in company A all the time. So again, what may happen here is the user logs on, they come to Orion Vehicle Leasing, but actually they always want to work in company A. So what they have to keep doing is this. So again, I'm going to show you how we can set the default company to make the experience a little bit easier for the individual. Other things I'm sort of going to focus on is also the search functions. And again, we can decide, or the user can decide, the sort of search functions that it wants to do. So if I just go for a quick search, and immediately you can see down here I've got all these tick options. It's got things like match any word, ignore case when I'm doing a search. So the user may want to say, well, I want to match any word, I want to ignore case. So that case could be where I've got a combination of up and lowercase on text. Now, if the user has none of these options set, then what they've got to keep doing is ticking these various options that they've got there. So what we want to do is just make that experience for the user a little bit more friendly. Also, another thing is, as you know, and some of you are seasoned users of Opera, what we have is on the action button is that we've got all the functions that we have to that we're able to use for that particular module that I'm working in. So like, for example, here, if it's somebody who wants to post an invoice, obviously they've got to go to action. They've then got to come down and select that's a bit unfortunate because that person is I'll stop, excuse that one. I'll just whip back into Orion Vehicle Leasing. So just to recap there, so if somebody wants to post a purchase invoice, they've got to find the account, go to the action button, choose the option that they want to do, and then make the various entry. So what we want to do is make that experience a little bit quicker, and what I'm going to show you is an option called accelerator key toolbars, and I'll explain this in more refined detail when we get onto the user preferences. Also, the other thing, whilst I'm here, I'm just going to post a quick invoice. We'll just do £10. I'll just say that's 0 rated. And I'm just about to post that invoice, and it is immediately posted that invoice. So again, there's another option that we've got within user preferences that gets us to confirm the posting that we're going to make, which makes sense because I may have just made a quick error there, and it's physically just posted that, and it's not giving me the opportunity to check what it is that I'm actually posting. So without further ado, let's go and have a look at user preferences. Now, some of you may not have this option on your administrator module area, and that will be determined by the user profile for the individual. Unfortunately, I can't go into that one because I'm logged on as a user and I don't have admin rights to go to that particular area, but it's the user profile where we can define what we can give the user on their menu structure. So some of users may not have this option here called preferences. Now, I actually believe that is a good option to give all users that you've got within Opera. So let's just load that, and what you'll see are various sections of various tick boxes that we've got. So let's just go through these individually from the top down to the bottom. So default company, what I was saying before was that we have a user who's got a default company set to Z, but actually they always work in company A. So what this will do is that when the user logs in, it will immediately take them to the company that they wish to work in and work in for the majority of the time. So you may have some users that are experiencing that, and the user can change this themselves. That's on the proviso that they have access to any of those companies. I'm going to pop it back to Orion Vehicle Leasing. Do you remember the posting that I just did on the sales ledger? There was no option to say, are you sure? Do you want to make that posting? So what I'm going to do, we're just going to tick that box, and what we're going to do is go back and do another invoice posting, and then you can see how that function appears. Remember when I went to the action button and then I had to go all the way down and then choose invoice? I'm going to show you accelerator key toolbars, and I will explain these to you when we've ticked these options. Grey and white grid lines. Remember when I was looking at the current balance for that customer and it was all on a white background? So what we're going to see is a different look and feel for that view screen that I was looking at. The other thing I'm also going to show you is the extended searching as well. Another option we've got here is auto clear, and I'm going to explain to you what that actually means when we come to edit a record. Now, we've got various menu styles here. So we have what we call the ribbon bar, which is the default, and this is the ribbon bar that we can see across the top. Now, for some of you seasoned Opera users who have migrated from Opera 2 many years ago and still wanted to see the old look and feel of Opera 2, then that is the option there, what we call the navigation pane. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tick that there so you can see how that will appear. And I know there's some people on this call that do actually have that old look and feel. Toolbar size. This is your toolbar down here at the bottom, and what we've actually got at the moment, we've got it set to small, which is a default. However, we can actually make that a little bit bigger, so it's easier on the eyes for people to actually have a look at. Default search. Remember when I was doing the search and I had to tick match any word, ignore case, and include deleted? So what I can actually do here For me, as this user, I can say, well, actually, I always wanted to tick match any word, and I would also like it to ignore case. Reporting. We've got two elements down here. Now, the advanced previews is where we produce a report to the screen, and we are able to search within that window for any text or anything with that. I'm going to show you that briefly. But this option we've got up here is use Opera PDF printer. Now, this is ideal if you have very, very big reports that you are producing and want to produce into a PDF printer. So this will actually speed up the process of producing that PDF image for you. So you would only tick that, as I say, if you are producing mammoth reports. If they are small reports where you've probably got something like about 10 pages, then it's not worthwhile sort of ticking that box. But the option is there. Remember form positions and sizes. I'm just going to click that, and remember when I sort of stretched the screen, and then when I closed it, it went back to the factory settings again. So what I'm going to do here is say, I want you to remember the form and positions and sizes. So what I'm doing, I'm going to come back to that. We're going to increase the screen, and you will see how it will keep that size for me for the next time that I log in. Change password. Now, the user can change the password here, and I do strongly recommend that people should have passwords within Opera. So I think it's sort of fairly important these days. Now, they can change their own password. So if I had the name of my cat or my dog in here and I wanted to change it, then I can come to my user preferences and change that password. The other side to this, the people who have management rights within Opera can change that password using the user profile. So they have the ultimate say. However, the individual can change their password if they so desire. Now, do you remember when I logged on, just coming down here, I had this option here that says use Opera Desktop. And what actually happens is that when we have an upgrade, then that splash screen appears, and what it does, it displays the Pegasus website. So there's a lot of people that have just put up with that, and as I was demonstrating here, they have to keep closing that window down. So all they simply need to do is untick that option. So the next time that they log in, that web page will not appear. Now, it does have some good uses, this, because what you can actually do is add a web page of your choice. So I'm just going to pop in Synergy Technology onto that one. So if I just do a quick test on that, and what you'll see is in the background, that will eventually launch the, so let me just click OK. And I'm just going to relog back on. Any changes that the user makes to the preferences, it suggests that you log on and log off and log back on again. So straight away you can see I've got a web page load up now. So I've now got the Synergy web page loaded up. So there's a few bits that is quite useful for. So if you're using anything like an intranet internally, or there's a particular website that you always want to use, then this is ideal for that. It's ideal for online banking if you want to just load up straight to your bank site. But any web page you can actually stipulate within the user preferences, and this is for that individual user, so it doesn't affect any other users because they can tailor it how they want it to be accordingly. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to close that. And if you remember, one of the things that I said was the old look and feel of Opera 2. So like I say, for some of those seasoned users out there, you can see obviously down the left hand side, and this is how Opera used to look in as Opera 2. As a preference, I'm a great believer is that we should embrace the new look and feel and go for the ribbon bar if you can. But like I say, it's more of a preference for individual. So again, just to recap, if you look down here at the bottom, you can see now where I've ticked use Opera Desktop, my default now is Synergy Technology. If the user doesn't want to do that, it's very simple. Just untick the option, so the next time that they log in, then that web page will not appear. Now, there's just a little bit more here down on the action button that we've got, and we've got what we call user background options. So this is where where we've got environments where they've got multi-company within Opera. So in my example, I had on there, I had A, B, X, and Z. And what I can do is I can have different backgrounds. And when I say backgrounds, this is this background here that I'm just circling. So if I was to choose company A, then what I can do is I can go from here and add an image to sit at the back. Now, I know some of the clients that do have multi-company tend to have a company set one, but if you wanted to have your photograph of your cat, your pigeon, or your dog for you personally, then what you can do is upload that image, so when you log in you have a completely different user background. But like I say, most companies where they've got the user background, they tend to have more of a corporate image, so it might not be relevant, but it's there if people wanted to have that little cuddly feel of things that bring home to them. Okay, so we're just going to escape on that because I'm not going to mess around with the cuddly pictures. Okay, so if we now click OK, and remember I've actually done some changes, because obviously what I've done is I've unticked that option here for the Opera desktop, and I've also reverted it back to the ribbon bar. So as soon as I change anything, it immediately says to activate new features you must log off and then log on. So let's click OK. Now again, a lot of people sort of think log off and log on. So what do we do? Do we just close Opera and then relaunch him? Well, you don't, because if you've got the option for log on, all you need to do is click to that option, go for your user, put your login again, and what it'll do, it will log you off and log you back on. So immediately now I've come back to the nice look and feel of Opera 3, complete with the ribbon bar. But you'll also notice now that that web page has completely disappeared. So let's look at some of those changes that I actually made. So let's go to financials again. Let's choose that account. Let's double click. Let's look at all transactions. And immediately what we saw before was a complete white background. So this is now what we call grey and white grid lines. So it just makes it easier to identify particular lines. So it breaks it up a little bit rather than sort of back. So it's a lot more easier on the eyes, I would say, definitely for that. So that's one change that we made there. Let's look at another one that I did. Remember the form positions and sizes? So what I want to do is I want to make that a little bit bigger for me. So every time I come into Opera, I want that size of screen. Maybe I need new glasses, but I've just made it a little bit bigger for me, and it's easier for me to see from here. So if I close that, what I expect is that screen to remember the form, position, and size. So wherever I move that, it will remember each time. Now, sometimes you can get a little bit overzealous with it. So you can have that. And what I could do is maybe launch another one. And I could do this. And then I could move that over there. Now, if I just close these, so let's just close them off. Let's just go back in again. And what it'll do, it remember the form, positions, and size that you've got. So again, just be aware that however you shape that, it will remember that size. And additionally, on top of that, it will also do the subforms as well. So if we go for this one, and it might be a case I want to make that a little bit bigger, because sometimes right over to the right hand side, if you've got multi-currency, you're going to see the multi-currency over on the right hand side. So I'm interested in multi-currency because that's what I deal in. So if I close that again, let's close that again. Remember, it's remembered the form, position, and size. And I open this window, and it's remembered that I can see multi-currency as well. Because otherwise, if I didn't do that, what I'd have to do is actually scroll along. So what I'm actually doing is just expanding that screen a little bit further. There will be another session a little bit further on one of our Find Out Fridays where I'll go into more depths of how we can change various things on these screens, but that's not what I'm going to be covering today. Okay, remember I said about the action button down here, and what we actually have is what we call accelerator keys. So again, that was the tick option that we had, accelerator keys. So now what's appeared is this box, and the box appears on the bottom right hand side. And remember, if I move this around, then it will remember where I've moved that accelerator key. So what this actually allows me to do you remember when I went for invoice, I had to go to action, then choose invoice. All I need to do now is click on this box or any of these options that are here, or if you're keyboard orientated, F5. So that makes it a little bit easier. Now, what you're seeing here isn't a complete replication of everything on the action button. They are probably the most functions that you would use within that area of the system, and this will be throughout Opera. So if you're on the purchase ledger, if you're on sales order processing, it will be the most common function that you would use. So all I need to do is, that disappeared very quickly, and just move that out of the way. So I just click back on that, and if just go for invoice. So I'm just going to post the invoice again. So you can see there, all I need to do was just click on the box rather than going action, going all the way down, and it immediately just called up the screen. So what I'm going to do is just do another posting, which leads in nicely to the confirm option. So I'm about to post this invoice. Remember when I posted the invoice before? And what it actually did was that it, I think I just changed the value, £10. It's schoolboy error, so let's just put £10 in there. So if I post that, and do you remember before when I clicked post, it just posted it. So what it's saying now is, are you sure you want to post this invoice? No, the default is no. So it's getting you to think, am I absolutely certain I want to make this posting? So therefore, it is now up to the user to say yes or no. So I think that option of confirm on the preferences is a fundamental one, and I would encourage that that option is always ticked, because it just gets the user to think a little bit more. I've seen systems where they haven't actually had this in place, and obviously you can imagine invoices, etc., has just been posted, and then it's a big reconciliation issue of trying to recover because the posting was incorrect. But at least you've got the option here to say, yeah, well, actually that should have been £100 and not £10, or I've got the dates wrong, maybe I've got the tax point date wrong. So it's just that little bit where they can go back and just recheck that everything's fine. Okay, so yeah, I want to post the invoice, so the invoice has been posted. Now, remember we were saying about the search, so I'm going to do a quick search, but one thing you will notice is at the top, before I do my search, I've now got big icons. And again, you remember the tick, the toolbar was either small or large. So I've gone for the large, and I can see those quite clearly now. Now, some of you may have these down at the bottom, but again, what I can do is I can move these around to wherever I want. So I might want to just shift it over there. And again, remember form positions and sizes remembers where that toolbar has been moved. So I could drag that down to the bottom because I might prefer it there, might prefer them at the top. But straight away, rather than looking down at the bottom, immediately I can see that in my eye line. So let's do a quick search. So go for search. Remember before when I did the search, I had to tick match any word, ignore case. Yeah, so now I've got those options already ticked. The only ones that I haven't got ticked is this one, include deleted records. So if you remember back on the preferences, I could have ticked that box and that would have been there. The include dormant isn't included on the user preference, because obviously that can be selected at this point. So immediately you can see how I've actually changed it from that original user experience that I had to how it should work and make life a little bit easier for the individual. So what you might find is you might find some of your users sort of struggling and saying, oh, I'm always having to tick this box, I'm always having to close that desktop web page every time I log in, and it can easily be dealt with, and that gives the user a better experience than what they've actually been used to. Let's just look at some other bits, because obviously I was talking about search, wasn't it? And one that we had was what we call the advanced search. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to whip over into a different company I've got where I can demonstrate that a little bit easier. So if I come on to here, and what I want to do is that I want to search, and the advanced search option that you've got is ideal if you've got a lot of customer accounts, could be supplier accounts that may have a similar name. So I'm going to use Smith in this example, and what I'm interested in is Smith in Manchester. If I go to my advanced option, I can tick these lines here. And if I go away, and immediately what it's done, it's actually looked for anything I've got Smith within the Manchester area. If I don't have the advanced searched on, what I'd have to do is search for Smith. And if I just put Manchester, it wouldn't look for Manchester unless I actually tick the boxes for the address lines. But what I'm actually doing here is looking at what we call a string. So it immediately just looks for anything. So it's looking for Smith and Manchester. Like I say, I'm going to do another session on searching where we can get more under the bonnet of how that actually works. But again, if you see users that are struggling, then there's options here that we can tick, which will help that experience and make the job a little bit easier and more accessible. The other thing, briefly, just going to go on to quick report. So if I go for this report, so what we're going to do, we're just going to publish this to the screen. And remember, we had two options there, didn't we? We had one which was the advanced, and then we had the other one which was the PDF printer. And remember, we were saying about the PDF printer one, that's if you are producing very chunky reports. This is the advanced view that we saw on the user preferences. So the advanced view covers these options here. So just briefly, and again, it's something I'm going to cover on a later session. Okay, but if I just put in Caster, okay, it's not a good idea that, because there's quite a lot on that one, and immediately what I'm able to do is just search on reports, and that's what we actually call the advanced reporting. So what you might find is you might have a user that's not got that ticked, so therefore they can't have this experience of searching through the report, printing certain pages off the report. But like I say, we can cover that in more detail. There was another option that we had, and that was what we called auto clear. And auto clear is any box that I actually go into here. If I want to change addresses or adjust anything on here, what auto clear would do would highlight the whole field that you've got, which I actually think is a little bit dangerous, because as soon as you hit delete, then that record becomes blank. So I've avoided the auto clear. If there is lots of maintenance that goes on with your customers, your suppliers, then that's ideal. So I've not chosen that option for an obvious reason, because I think it's a little bit easier for people to adjust individual lines. So just to sort of recap on that area, and that's this option here. So I would actually avoid that going through. Right, that was short and brief, but I'm just hoping there's some elements in there that might just make that user experience just go around the office, have a look at some of your individuals, just see what they're doing, what they're struggling with, what is the pain pressures that they've got. It could be a case that they say, oh, Opera, I can't make the screen bigger. It's annoying me every time that I log on. There's that web page that keeps coming up. Quite recently, I've just been out to a few sites where I've gone in and they've loaded Opera, and they said, does that load every time? And they went, yeah, that's right. Okay, here we go. Untick the box, pain goes away. Thank God for that. You know, it's been bugging me for a couple of months.